The snow kept falling, quiet and merciless, as the man walked away without looking back. The woman in the wheelchair didn't scream. She didn't beg. She just watched his footprints disappear, knowing that if help didn't come soon, this white silence would be the last thing she ever saw. The storm had arrived faster than anyone expected. One moment the sky was gray and heavy, the next it was unleashing thick sheets of snow that swallowed roads, fences, and hope alike. On the edge of a forgotten mountain road, a woman named Emily sat motionless in her wheelchair, her thin coat already soaked through. Her hands were numb, her lips trembling, but her eyes remained fixed on the empty road ahead. Just minutes earlier, that road had carried her husband away. Daniel had always hated the winters. He hated the cold, the isolation, and most of all, the reminders of what life used to be before the accident. Before Emily's laughter filled rooms without effort. Before the wheelchair became a third presence in their marriage. He told himself lies often, that he was strong, that he was loyal, but storms had a way of stripping lies bare. Their argument had started small, as they always did. A missed medication. A tone that felt like blame. Then came the words neither of them could take back. Daniel's voice cracked when he shouted that he was tired, tired of pushing, tired of waiting, tired of being needed every second of every day. Emily had gone quiet, which somehow made him angrier. When he stopped the car, he told himself he only needed air. He told himself he'd cool down and come back. But when he unloaded the wheelchair and set it beside the road, something inside him snapped. Fear, guilt, resentment, all tangled together until running felt easier than staying. Emily didn't cry when he left. Shock has a way of freezing tears before the cold does. She told herself he'd come back. He always did. But as the minutes passed and the snow deepened, doubt crept in. Her legs, already unresponsive, felt like they belonged to someone else entirely. Her fingers burned, then dulled. Her breath grew shallow. Memories became her refuge. She remembered dancing barefoot in their kitchen. She remembered Daniel carrying her across the threshold of their first home, joking that he'd always carry her no matter what. She wondered when "no matter what" had quietly expired. Miles away, cutting through the storm like a blade, a Navy SEAL named Jack Turner guided his truck along the same mountain road. He was home on leave, heading toward a remote cabin that offered silence he hadn't found in years. Beside him sat Rex, his Belgian Malinois canine partner, alert despite the weather, ears twitching at every unfamiliar sound. Jack had survived deserts, jungles, and gunfire, but something about snow always made him uneasy. It hid things. Buried them. Just as he rounded a bend, Rex let out a sharp bark, his body tensing. Jack slowed instantly. At first, all he saw was white. Then a shape. Then a wheelchair half buried near the road. Jack slammed the brakes. Emily barely registered the footsteps crunching toward her. She thought she was hallucinating when a large dog appeared in her fading vision, warm breath fogging the air. Then a man's voice, steady, calm, urgent. "Ma'am, stay with me. You're not alone." Those words cracked something open inside her. She tried to speak, but only a weak sound escaped. Jack moved fast, wrapping his coat around her shoulders, signaling Rex to press close for warmth. Years of training took over, but his eyes betrayed something deeper: anger, disbelief, protectiveness. "Who did this to you?" he asked softly, though part of him already knew. Emily whispered the truth through chattering teeth. "My husband left." The storm howled, but Jack made a promise in that moment, not just to keep her alive, but to make sure she was never abandoned again. Just when Emily believed she had been saved, Jack discovered the truth behind her husband's escape, and realized the storm wasn't the most dangerous thing coming for them that night. The cabin lights glowed like a miracle through the snowfall. Jack carried Emily inside as if she weighed nothing, laying her gently near the fire while Rex stayed pressed against her side. Warmth returned painfully, in sharp needles that made her gasp. Jack worked carefully, checking her vitals, wrapping her in blankets, giving her warm water in slow sips. As life returned to her fingers, so did the weight of what had happened. Emily stared at the fire, shame and grief battling for space in her chest. She apologized without knowing why. For being heavy. For being slow. For being left. Jack shook his head firmly. None of this is on you. Hours passed before the storm eased. When Emily finally slept, Jack stepped outside to make a call. He contacted local authorities, reported the abandonment, and gave a description of Daniel. What he didn't expect was the reply. They already knew the name. Daniel hadn't just fled. He had been running, from debt, from responsibility, from himself. There were reports of him attempting to cross state lines earlier that night. Fear had turned him reckless. Jack returned inside, watching Emily sleep, Rex's head resting protectively on her lap. Something in his chest tightened. He had seen loyalty under fire, courage under impossible odds. But this quiet resilience struck him harder than any battlefield moment. When Emily woke, Jack told her the truth. Not to hurt her, but to free her. Tears came then, unstoppable, messy, real. But beneath them was something new, relief. The kind that comes when you realize the weight you've been carrying was never yours alone. In the days that followed, the story spread. A woman abandoned in the snow. A Navy SEAL and his canine who refused to look away. Help arrived, from social workers, from veterans groups, from strangers who saw Emily not as a burden, but as a human being worth saving. Daniel was found days later. Cold. Alone. Facing consequences he could no longer outrun. Emily chose not to see him. Weeks turned into months. Emily rebuilt her life piece by piece. Therapy. Support. Laughter returning slowly, cautiously. Jack visited often, never crossing lines, simply present. Rex adored her, always resting his head where her hands could reach him. One evening, as the snow fell gently outside, but no longer felt threatening, Emily rolled herself onto the porch. Jack joined her, silence comfortable between them. I thought being left meant I was unlovable, she said quietly. Jack looked at her, unwavering. Sometimes being left is proof that the wrong person didn't deserve to stay. Emily smiled then, not because everything was fixed, but because she finally believed she would survive. And somewhere deep in the quiet mountains, the storm that once tried to end her story became the very thing that saved it.